I've always had a thing for buildings and architecture, but the first time I saw Frank's work, everything changed. Yeah, me and Frank Lloyd Wright, it's complicated. I first saw his work over 20 years ago in a museum, some sketches and photos, and it was like a lightning bolt of pure joy. His work is so big-shouldered and confident, but sensuous and beautiful. I was in a full swoon like that. I buy books and DVDs and I start researching all about him, and I start creating sketchbooks. I'm sketching his buildings, and I'm going to go to architecture school. I'm going to go back to school and be an architect. Yeah, everything by Frank Lloyd Wright, it just caught my eye. And I want to see it all live. So I make a list of all the properties that I can visit, and I vow I'm going to see as many as I can in a very short time. And Frank and we start our journey together in Chicago at his home and studio. It's a museum now, but once I'm inside, it's all so Frank. It's so delicious. I'm so excited about this trip. I go back and do the same standard tour 3 times in the same week. By the end of the week, I'm on a first name basis with the tour guide, and everyone in the gift shop knows me. I buy t-shirts and mugs and paperweights. I even buy an embroidery pattern for a Frank Lloyd Wright window design. I don't embroider. It doesn't matter because it caught my eye. And of course, while I'm there, I learned that things for Frank and I are not exclusive. There are so many people who love Frank Lloyd Wright. We're not alone. And yeah, of course, as I get to know about him, there are some things that, could be seen as red flags. His furniture, for instance, is impossible to sit in. His windows and the roofs of his houses, they often leaked. He didn't even finish some of his projects. The rooms in his houses, they were too cold in the winter and too hot in the summer. His personal life, well, tragic, complicated. None of it matters because my swoon, it persists. And I do it. I see 9 different properties in less than 6 months. Arizona, Minnesota, California, Illinois, Pennsylvania, one more extraordinary than the last. My swoon is deepening. And now I'm getting serious about Frank. I want to go deeper. I want to write something about him, maybe a story, a piece of fiction. I don't know, maybe an academic paper. But Frank's a hard man to get to know. I try to get into his archives in Chicago at the home and studio, but you need special permission, a letter of recommendation. This takes months. I persist. Once I'm in the archives, I learned that I can't actually copy nor take photos of anything. I can only work from handwritten notes. The archivists explain that not everyone is as pure-hearted in their love of Frank as I am. You see, some people get into the archives and they try to steal some of the designs to sell them. I'm not going to do that. I try to argue the case and say, I could actually just step outside the building and take a photo of the very object I want to research. Wouldn't that be the same thing? It's a hard no. Of course, I understand. I want to protect Frank too. But this was sobering. I'd been so loyal to Frank all this time, and now I'm refused by him. Something changes that day. I'm not going to write a paper. I'm not going to go to architecture school. And everything catches my eye, but I feel like I'm kind of running out of road with the Frank thing, like it's been fun, but even my friends don't want to hear any more about the Frank thing. I feel like me and Frank need a reset. I go back to the home and studio the next day. I think I'm going to take the standard tour again. With all that I know about Frank, I feel like I can appreciate something more about the space. It's kind of like a date night for a couple that's been married for a very long time, except for me, this is with a dead architect. As I approach the house, I noticed that the stone walkway on the way to the house has been completely disassembled. This was not the case yesterday. This is disconcerting to me. No one is protecting the paving stones. Someone could steal them. I briefly think about assembling them in a pile and hovering over them to protect them, but I think it could be weird and I'm going to miss the tour. So I head immediately into the house. I don't have time to tell anyone about the paving stones. And I go on the tour, and it's really crowded, and there's all these people jostling in this small space, all the new Frank fans. And I can't explain it. I was really preoccupied about the stones, and I lost my footing. I lost my balance. I put both hands out, and I fall hard on a wall in the living room. This is very serious because in these houses, you're not supposed to touch anything or lean on anything. It's a cardinal sin. But what I did is I put both hands hard on the waxy red brick wall in the dining room. This is very bad. There's a whole 10 minutes on the tour devoted to the wall. It's super luscious. You have to see it. And I get caught. I get called out by the tour guide. I don't know her. I don't know how she saw me. It was so brief. Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. I'm going to have to ask you to step aside, she says. And she leads the group out into the other room. She comes back and gives me a lecture. Historical preservation, codes of conduct of the house. Of course, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put my hands on the wall. I lost my footing. I love the waxy red brick wall. I love Frank. I would never do anything to hurt either of them. But could we take a moment together to talk about the paving stones outside? No one is protecting them. They could be stolen. This doesn't help plead my case. I'm asked to step out to the gift shop and wait. I'm like a toddler in timeout. People are staring and it's weird, and no, I'm not going to buy anything. Thank you. I think I'm being used as an example. They let me go on the next tour, but they assign an intern to me to watch me. Yeah, I know more than the intern, by the way. I asked a few times. I never got an answer about the paving stones. Yeah, they caught my eye. The whole me and Frank thing, it was a crazy crush, like a rush of architectural hormones. It came and went as fast as a massive hot flash. It still catches my eye, his stuff, but it did then, and it caught my heart too, because the thing about Frank is it's not just his buildings, it's his persistence. He went on to do things over and over and that he loved, even when people didn't appreciate it. And I think back then, I was looking for my own version of that, something to hang on to. Frank gave me that. I stopped at 9 Frank properties, 10 if you include the home and studio, and that I saw 8 more times. The DVDs and the books, they got lost in a move. The beautiful architectural sketchbooks, they got ruined in a basement flood. All that's left, I'm on a Frank Lloyd Wright mailing list, and every once in a while they find a property that maybe possibly was designed by Frank, and I get an alert. And yeah, every time I kind of wonder, like, could we, maybe me and Frank again? I have other passions now. So it was fun, Frank, but no, we're done. Thank you.